Points Larry Johnson, only players from Vegas go #1 overall. He's heavier than that 240 right now. Last year as we started the college season, you compared him to Johnson favorably.
Yeah, he is a little like Larry Johnson. He is a skilled power forward that can operate in the post. He was the top scorer and rebounder per 40 minutes among eligible freshmen in this draft. He can play pick and pop basketball. 88% of his ball screens resulted in a pop. He knocks down shots at a high rate. He can really stretch the floor and really shoot it. Very skilled as a power forward. He can grab a defensive rebound and take it the other way. He rebounds on both ends, an excellent offensive rebounder. And you can see that shot fake and drive against North Carolina, getting an offensive rebound. And that's a stick back. That is not a layup. That's a big-time dunk. This young man has long arms, wingspan. So everybody tip one back and tip it back to Raftery tonight, too. I'm going to miss my partner. He can operate in the low post and operate out on the perimeter as well. There is a question as to who he guards. I'll tell you, here he is busting out and taking it the other way. How many power forwards can do that? Dave Rice, his coach at UNLV, used to tell him, you get a defensive rebound, bust out and take it the other way. I'm surprised he's gone at #1. I had him rated #6 overall. But Anthony Bennett is absolutely a stretch 4 that can score from day one in the NBA. Oladipo is a worker, incredibly competitive. He's an outstanding athlete that has an explosive first step as a 2-guard. He's got the tools to be a great individual defender. He led the Big Ten in deflections. He had 12.5 deflections per game. He was second in the league in steals. Over 40 minutes, he gets 3 steals per game. He can make exciting blocks. He makes big plays in transition. He's a finisher above the rim, and he's really improved his scoring efficiency. He's now making a wide open jump shot, which means you've at least got to go out and guard him. The first 2 years of his career, he wasn't in the top 100. You know, Dave Tellep, who's our recruiting guru, said he wasn't even in the top 100 coming out of high school. And this is a young man that has worked really hard to improve himself, improve his game, and has done that. But I think his toughness and his mental toughness, especially his ability to work and improve, makes you think he's just not going to fail in the NBA. Otto Porter Jr., I believe, is the most versatile and the most complete player in this draft. He's a jump shooter. He's also a versatile defender, a guy who can guard multiple spots. Now, he had great success when he was guarding 4 men, guys like CJ Fair of Syracuse, one of the few guys, Porter's one of the few guys that actually shut him down. He blocks shots, he gets deflections, he gets steals. Guarding threes, maybe there's a question with his lateral quickness. But I'll tell you what, he is a good jump shooter. He's got kind of a funky release, but he gets it off quick enough. He can stretch it out to 3. He's an excellent cutter. He makes hard cuts to the basket, then he snaps back into the post and can post a smaller player. He pulls up, he makes really good decisions. He's a good passer. This young man knows how to play. Now, over half his shots are jump shots, and he does a good job of knocking those down at a high percentage. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's just solid. But I think he's the most complete player at both ends of the floor. And with a name like Otto Porter, he could play for the Reggie Cleveland All-Stars.
Hey, that's my joke. We think he's a ready Tayshaun Prince, right?
Yeah, something like a Tayshaun Prince, or maybe even a taller version of Bruce Bowen.
It's one of the reasons why people, some players leave early when perhaps they shouldn't. He stuck around. He was the preseason player of the year. Had a terrific year, but wasn't rewarded for it. What he can do is he can really run. He is not a good athlete. He is a great athlete, and he can change ends in a hurry and put a tremendous amount of pressure on your transition defense. He gets down the floor and gets easy baskets, and they're only easy baskets because he works really hard to get them. At the NBA Draft Combine, he blew everybody away with his overall athleticism. A vertical leap of almost 38 inches, a standing vertical of 35.5. That is an NBA Draft Combine record. He's good in space. Well, he does a really good job when he's not in traffic of finishing. Now, when he is in traffic, he has a little bit more of a hard time getting up and finishing over people. But he's the most athletic big coming out this year. He's a career 60% shooter. He gets to the free throw line. He's the most efficient big guy in this draft. There are some questions. I think he does need to play harder and to get more physical. He does shy away at times from contact, but he's very skilled. He's got good hands. He's got a really good touch. He can finish plays around the basket. He tends to fall away at times, but he's got it's a nice up and under step through move. And he's got the ability to make a face-up jumper. Now, he only took 32 jumpers this last year in 28 games. but he's got the ability to make that, and he is a shot blocker. Now, he's got a wingspan of about 7'3", tip it back, America, but he can also rebound, and he doesn't block as many shots as Nerlens Noel, who blocks 5.5 per 40 minutes. He's more in the 3.5 range per 40 minutes, which is still pretty darn good. Noel's a defensive savant, but Len is not far behind him, and he has the ability with his size to hold position on the block, both offensively and defensively, which Noel is going to have a harder time doing. He's more of a classic low post center that can step away.
Grievous Vasquez is in the backcourt. You hope to get Eric Gordon back healthy. I like what they're building now with the Pelicans.
Protect the rim. Those two guys are going to cover the rim. I mean, 40 minutes, he blocks 5.5 shots per game. He's a defensive savant, and his energy, his freaky athleticism, he not only blocks shots, he gets steals. He blocks shots from the weak side, he blocks them on the ball, but he also gets 2 steals per game. He gets steals on the ball, he gets them anticipating off the ball. That's really unusual for a guy his size. So on the defensive end, he's an all-star caliber player and a defensive player of the year. He's just limited on the offensive end.
Jay, you're talking about identities when you're building a team. This is a team now. If I'm a guy who likes to go to the rim, I'm terrified of playing the Pelicans. Got Davis and Noel waiting for you.
They're just slight of build. I mean, you know, Noel, even at his heaviest, is only 216 pounds. You know, he dropped some weight when he had that knee surgery. I've been told he's gained 10 pounds back. That still puts him at 216. That's not pushing an Eastern Conference center off the block. Lamore is an explosive athlete that can really shoot it. I mean, he's just a really talented player. You can throw a lob to him. You can see here, we get that little screen off the out-of-bounds under, and he can go up and finish. He's a transition athlete that can play and finish above the rim. He is an excellent shooter in catch-and-shoot situations, coming off screens. He knocks down shots with regularity with deep range. Now, he's got to use screens in order to get his shot. He's not adept at getting his own shot right now. He's a 2-dribble max guy. I think he's got the talent level, though, to improve in that area where he can create his own shot. He's got NBA range from 3, and he shoots it with ease. He just glides up and down the floor. 60% of his shots are jump shots, yet he's still a very efficient scorer that shoots close to 90% from the free throw line when he gets there. I think that Ben McLemore has a really high ceiling as a player. I think he's got a chance to be great. The only question mark you have is his personality. Is he the type of player that is assertive enough to be a top dog in the NBA? And that's why fit is really important. And I do question a little bit who's going to mentor him in that locker room in Sacramento.
You don't like DeMarcus Cousins' chances?
I don't, actually. Yeah, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a specialist. He is a shooter, and he's a jump shooter. 75% of his shots are jump shots, and he knocks down a very good percentage of them. 40% of his pull-up jumpers he knocks down. That's 1.2 points per possession for a jump shooter. That's very efficient. So he's got size, he's got length to get that shot off, and he's got a quick trigger on it. He gets it off quickly with a nice stroke. That thing goes in at a high rate. He's not a big-time athlete, but he's got really good speed. He had the fastest three-quarter sprint time at the NBA draft combine among wings. So north-south, he can really run. He's certainly not a bad athlete. He's just not a spectacular one. What he does is shoot. And I think he's got the chance to be a decent defender. He's been well coached by Mark Fox at Georgia. I think this young man's got a chance to really stretch a defense with his shooting ability.
Jay had him as his top hyphen guy in this draft, too, I think.
Veterans will never call him all of that. Get ready.
Do you think he's going to wind up there? He's going Minnesota right now.
Yeah, he's going.
Yeah.
But they talk about trading Drew Holiday.
Well, I think with Minnesota, though, you know, they have a contender potentially in about a year, and this is just a piece that can help their top 7.
I think he's the best point guard available in this draft, and he may be small by traditional point guard standards, but he plays much bigger. He's an excellent shooter. He's got really deep range. Of shots taken in the last 4 seconds of a shot clock, he led the nation. He had 55 of them. He was very efficient with those. He is not afraid of the big moment. I think he's a good defender, and he's excellent off pick and roll. He doesn't just blast off it. He takes his time. He's very efficient in passing out of it and of making the right decision. And Burke can score, he can defend, he can handle it. I think he's done a good job as a leader, knocking this big shot down against Kansas. I'm not worried about his size because he plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Heel. shooting the basketball. And I think he's going to be a heat check player, lighten up the scoreboard on many nights.
Oh, you think he's an irrational confidence guy?
Yeah.
I think he reminds me of Jason Terry. That's, I think, a good comparison for him.
Well, he's not just a shooter, he's a scorer. And he's a scorer that can get his own shot. You know, we've talked about guys like Ben McLemore that need screens or use screens to get their shot. CJ McCollum creates his own. He is an elite shooter. He is a guy that before he got hurt, 12 games into the season, he got hurt against VCU. He was averaging going into that game 25 points a game. He was shooting well over 50% from three. I don't think that was going to stop during the course of the year. He had been absolutely torching people. Good off of pick and rolls. He takes his time. Last summer at the LeBron James Skills Academy, I thought he was the best guard there. He just out-competed everybody. And he can do it on both ends. He's a good defender, got long arms, he fits the profile. And I think after the success of Stephen Curry coming out of Davidson and Damian Lillard coming out of Weber State, you know, the small school guy, it's cool to take him. And then you know that these guys can compete.
Like about Michael Carter-Williams, his size at the point. You don't see that too often in today's game. So he's going to actually play with the basketball, play without the basketball, make guys better. As you mentioned, Jay, an excellent passer.
And the thing that worries me about him, outside shot is shaky. Point guard to me is an alpha dog position, and I'm not sure he's an alpha dog, and that would be my fear. That if you're going to talk about is he going to be a bust or not, that would be my fear.
Well, he's very good on defense. Per 40 minutes, he gets 3.2 steals per game. That is a high rate, especially when you consider he plays a lot of zone. He's a good finisher when he takes the ball to the basket. That's what he is best at. But he's also got really good passing instincts. But when we talk about his ability to knock shots down, you know, against Indiana in the NCAA tournament, we had talked about the fact that he wasn't a shooter. Well, against Indiana, he knocked shots down. I think he can improve his shooting over time if he puts more work into it.
Just who is Steven Adams? He is from New Zealand, as you heard Commissioner Stern mention. He's one of 18 kids. His sister, in fact, has won a couple of gold medals in the shot put. His sister Valerie. Males in the Adams clan average 6'9", females 6 feet. His dad grew up in Britain but got teased because he was so big and ended up moving to New Zealand. Made the Big East All-Rookie team, and during workouts leading up to the draft showed a facet of the game to be able to hit some shots that we really didn't see as a Panther.
And he was a top 5 high school recruit a year ago, so you got to factor that in too.
Yeah, he fits the suit. I mean, he's got an NBA body. He's a really good athlete. He's big and strong, and he can rebound. He didn't get a ton of reps. He didn't play a bunch of minutes for Jamie Dixon at Pittsburgh, but per 40 minutes, he grabs 11 rebounds per game. And in those 11 rebounds per 40 minutes, 5.5 of them are offensive rebounds, so he can get stickbacks. He's a good athlete. He's got decent hands. He really struggled this last year from the free throw line. He only made 44% of his free throws, but he's got a better touch than that. I just don't think he played enough, and he hadn't played enough basketball. You give him some time to develop, and you can have something pretty good on your hands.
Canadian-born players have been picked in the lottery, so when the Celtics eventually get Olynyk, what are they getting NBA style, Jay?
Best hair in the draft. Right there.
That's something you covet, I'm sure.
You're darn right. I am very jealous of that. Hey, he's a 7-footer that can shoot it from the perimeter. You know, in high school, he was more of a guard, and he grew 7 inches in high school. He was a perimeter shooting big when he first got to Gonzaga, but he took last year off. He put some weight on. He started spending some more time down in the post, and he became one of the most efficient big guys in the country last year. Averaged 18 points a game. I still think he can be a better rebounder. I think he needs to rebound at a higher rate. But he's solid off of pick and rolls. He can pop or he can roll and finish at the rim. And he does a really solid job defensively. But he's not a shot blocker. Like he's a good position defender, but he's not a shot blocker. He's not an elite level athlete, but he's a good athlete. But I think his perimeter shooting ability, his ability to step away and knock down an NBA three is going to really serve him well in the league.
Amateurism issues, whatever you think about that, Jay, it slowed down the beginning of his career at UCLA anyway.
And we think he's going to Minnesota here. I'm not a fan, Jay.
I don't know. I think he's pretty good. Shabazz Muhammad was the #1 high school player coming out, and there were a lot of
people thought he was 18.
Well, I don't know. It was just his age. But, I mean, he's always had an inner drive. He's always been a competitive player. He's a left-hander that's basically all left-handed. He does a good job coming off screens and catch and shoot situations from three. He's not as good inside the three-point line as a jump shooter, but he's a good offensive rebounder. He has not, throughout his time in high school and his 1 year in college, paid as much attention to being a good defender as he needs to. But I think at this point in the draft, I think he's actually worth a higher pick than this. But, you know, when you take the risk-reward decision, this is a good spot for him.
Limited potential, brought to you by Sprint, and certainly Giannis Antetokounmpo would fit that mold. An 18-year-old player, has some size, loves Kevin Durant. Fran Fraschilla follows the international game closely. Fran, what do we have here in Antetokounmpo?
What we have, Reese, is the youngest player in the draft and the most mysterious. This young man did not leave the country of Greece until 3 weeks ago when he played in a tournament in Italy. And he was fortunate because at that tournament, all 30 NBA teams could see him and not worry about the YouTube videos. He's got a Kevin Durant body. He handles the ball like a point forward. He's got a great feel for the game, and he's a great kid with a high motor.
NBA straight from the international game. Tell us about the big fella, Fran.
Well, first of all, wingspan, 7'9", the longest ever recorded at the NBA draft combo a couple months ago. At 27, this is ideal for Denver. He's a long kid. He runs the floor well. He's a shot blocker, although not like a Nerlens Noel. What I like about him is he does play hard. Great in pick-and-roll offense, runs to the rim. Keep in mind, French players translate well to the NBA. Tony Parker, Boris Diaw, Nick Batum, and even last year, Evan Fournier, who Denver took right around 20, had a nice rookie year. Don't know if he comes over right away, but when you get a 7-footer with that kind of length, and he runs the floor pretty well, 27 pick, I say kudos to Tim Connolly in his first draft.